Hayes.
Even if we don't make the chase, I mean, we won one in my final season, and that means the world to me, and especially at one of my favorite tracks. So nothing beats winning than here.
I've been preaching that to them for a long time. That where we started at and where we're at now, there's been a lot of building blocks going on.
Such a great town, and those people just care about that university and us as people so much, not as just players, but as people.
Well. Who would have thunk it? Well over a week ago when the College World Series started out in Omaha, that little old Coastal Carolina, small school in a small conference in a small town, would be around here on, June 27th? Would be here on June 27th to play for the stinking national championship. Think about that, people. Coastal Carolina playing for the national championship with the big boys. We're not talking about Division II, Division III, NAIA, FCS, whatever, whatever level you want to talk about below the biggest level. This is big boy baseball, and Coastal Carolina has muscled its way right into the championship series starting tonight in Omaha. I got to admit, look, here on Sports Talk, we've been a longtime follower of Coastal Carolina baseball. We're down there every year for Baseball at the Beach. We've covered that program as best we can, mixing it in with the coverage of, USC and Clemson. I'm shocked. I'm shocked that, we're here, and I'm thankful because it gives us something to sink our teeth into for hopefully, 4 more days. But it just shows you, Pro, what terrific coaching and having players come together at the right time to form a team bigger, we bigger than me. I think that has really put them in the situation that tonight.
I can tell you I'm not shocked, because if they'd have come out of nowhere, yeah, but this team has been knocking on the door for a few years, and it was just a matter of time. And I, at the beginning, I said they would win NC State, but nobody would have picked anybody to win at LSU. I don't care who the team was, and that's what turned the tide. Also, when they started to score against Texas Tech, then you started to have a belief system in that team that they could get this done, because you got to have a break or two that lets the players know, hey, all our hard work is coming to fruition. We've got a break against Texas Tech. Texas Tech left that crack in the door, those early errors. They scored a bunch of runs, and they have not looked back since.
Yeah, I think going into Baton Rouge and winning 2 in a row, that had to convince them. Winning at NC State was also very nice, but going into Baton Rouge and winning 2 in a row there had to convince them that they could play with anybody. We'll be right back. Well, we want to thank Coastal Carolina for giving the sports fans here in South Carolina something to do during the month of June. I mean, the thing about the College World Series, as we have experienced over the years, if you are out there with a team as a member of the team, a fan, or the media, and your team wins, it's a long, long, long stay in Omaha. But the good thing is that it eats up, well, there's a good thing and a bad thing. It eats up most of June. The bad thing is it eats up most of June. When you come back, you've got very little vacation time left, especially in our business. When you think about it, we are 2 weeks away from today, 2 weeks away from SEC Media Days. That begins 2 weeks from today. It's early this year. I don't know why they jacked it up so early in the month, but that's what they're doing. 2 weeks from today is SEC Media Day. So if you've been covering the World Series, and let's say, well, you know, if you've been there with the media for Arizona or Coastal, you're not getting out of there before Wednesday because they're going to play a game again tomorrow. So you won't get out of there till Wednesday. If there's a third game on Wednesday, you're not getting out of there before Thursday. So the week is shot. You got maybe 7 or 8 days to regroup, and then it's off to beautiful Hoover, Alabama, for SEC Media Days. But tonight, we're all Chanticleer fans around the state, are we not? Everybody's got to be pulling for the little team that could, Coastal Carolina. Starting pitchers have finally been announced. Zach Hopek, right-hander, going for Coastal Carolina. J.C. Cloney, left-hander, going for Arizona. Hopek is now I think maybe it's Hopek. Maybe it's Hopek. He's 3-3. This will be his second start of the season. He's worked 49 2/3 innings, allowed 41 hits, 21 earned runs. He has struck out 34. He has given up 4 home runs and 21 earned runs in those 49 2/3 innings. Looking at the lineup for Coastal, pretty much as it has been. Paez, Marks, Remillard, Owings, Young, Woodall, Chadwick, Cook, and Parrott. Who would have thought, really, that one day the names of the Coastal Carolina baseball players would become household names in South Carolina, and in some cases around the country? I think everybody who follows baseball now knows who Michael Paez is, or Anthony Marks. Zach Remillard, I'm telling you what now, he was taken, I think, was it the White Sox who chose him? I would not be surprised, just based on what I've seen from him in the postseason, would not be surprised if he can hit. If he can hit when he gets to professional baseball, that he's not up in the big leagues one day, because he can flat out field it out there. He's outstanding. Connor Owings, of course, South Carolina kid. And that's the other thing, too. Got a lot of South Carolina kids, especially on the pitching staff, involved with what's happening at Coastal Carolina. Now, J.C. Cloney starting tonight for Arizona, 7-4. This will be his let me back that up. 7-4, 101 innings pitched, 55 strikeouts. He's allowed 4 home runs, 30 earned runs in his 101.1 innings of work. So the stage is set. First pitch will be about 7:05 in Omaha, and it's the best 2 out of 3. We'll see what happens moving forward. 2 teams that had to earn their way. Not that any of the other teams didn't earn their way, but when you have to come up through the losers bracket and win 3 straight games to get to this point, you have done some work. And you could hear it in the coaches' voices yesterday at the press conference, listening to them. It really wasn't so much about what was ahead, that they were excited about that. It's what they've accomplished to this point. Arizona has won 5 national championships. And the most recent one was, of course, against South Carolina back in 2012. They beat the Gamecocks in 2 games. In fact, one of the key players on that Arizona team, Refsnyder, has been the starting first baseman for the Yankees in the absence of Mark Teixeira. He was the one, wasn't he the one who had some disparaging things to say about Carolina and Gamecock fans?
Because
they got on him a little bit.
Things about him.
Yeah.
Which was kind of out of line, but we won't go there.
Yeah. So this is a program, Arizona, that is steeped in baseball tradition. This is not their first rodeo when it comes to playing in the big games in Omaha. Obviously, for Coastal Carolina, it is the first rodeo for them, and a great experience it has been. And they've handled it with just great professionalism, but they've also mixed in the fun side of things too. They've got the monkey thing going as a mascot, and all the other different things they have going on in that dugout to keep them loose, not too caught up in the moment of the pressure of a game. And that has to help them in their performance, because you can't play high level baseball when you're wound up really tight.
I tell you what, boy, there's no wilder dugout than that Arizona dugout. But here's the interesting thing. Yes, Arizona's been there, but they got a first-year coach that was coaching in Nevada last year. And he didn't think he had the material when he first saw him. Hopefully we can make a good showing this first year, and then we'll do something after that. So here are two teams, weren't national seeds, had to come through a loser's bracket, had to win regionals on the road, and I think both upset SEC teams in the super regionals. As a matter of fact, Arizona, I think, got Ole Miss in 2 straight games, and of course, Coastal beat LSU. So again, I think this is good for college baseball, because it's telling every team that I don't care if you're and also ran this year, you may be sitting right there at the pinnacle next year, because these two teams, nobody had any idea they would be sitting where they are right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. Arizona State, a record of 48-22. They are 8-2 on neutral sites. They come in with a team batting average of 290. Not a lot of power, only 26 home runs. Ryan Aguilar is their leading home run and RBI man, 8 home runs, 50 RBIs. They do have speed, 76 stolen bases. They have 3 guys with at least 11 steals, a couple of more with 9. They do play excellent defense, only 61 errors, 977 fielding percentage for Arizona. So 2 pretty evenly matched teams. We all know Coastal Carolina's offensive. We all know they can hit the long ball. They finally did get a home run the other night. We'll have to find out how Wind is doing. That'll be critical in these 2 or 3 games moving forward. But the other key will be, where are you with your pitching right now?
Mm-hmm.
What can you do with your pitching staff? Coastal was able to get through on Saturday night with Bobby Holmes finishing up, even though Morrison threw a bunch of balls in the bullpen.
He wasn't coming in there, though.
Well, he was warming up like he was, he wasn't just soft tossing. He was heating up as quickly as he could.
I think they let him back there because they were tired of him pulling on the coach's shirt about getting in.
Well, that's what they were saying on television.
They didn't want him in there, so they figured they sent him there to work off his energy.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine that he's able to go tonight since he did not pitch on Saturday night. And so we'll see which one has enough depth left in the pitching to get him through. A couple of other quick notes to pass along from today and over the weekend. Connor Mitch has a new home. Former USC quarterback is transferring to James Madison.
James Madison Dukes.
Doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense unless Mike Houston has dumped the triple option. I guess Connor Mitch thinks he can run the triple option. I'm sure Mike Houston is still – I didn't see anything from the spring there at James Madison, but he's been a triple option guy his entire head coaching career. Anyway, that's where he's going. Former Gamecock receiver Jalen Christian is transferring to William and Mary, so they'll both be in the CAA, and they'll both be eligible to play next season. All right, we'll be right back here on Sports Talk. All right, a couple of other quick notes. Clemson outfielder Seth Beer today named the National Freshman of the Year by Baseball America, and also named to the Freshman All-American team Braden Webb, USC right-hander. Well, he's not a USC right-hander anymore. He's already signed his pro contract, but he was named to the Freshman All-American team. Last night, Coastal pitcher Andrew Beckwith was named the winner of the Greg Olson Award for Breakout Player of the Year. His name had not appeared on the semifinalist or the finalist lists, but with his performance in Omaha, 2 complete game victories, that opened some eyes up, and he wins that award. So congratulations to him. USC pitcher Matt Vogel signed his pro contract over the weekend, 25th round pick of the Rays. Was only 1-0 with the Gamecocks this past season. He only pitched 7 innings. All right, to the phones we go, and it's down to Conway, our good buddy Rhett Graham from Coastal Carolina on the line. I know you are pumped up with pride tonight.
I am, Corny. How are you, my man?
Good, good.
Hey, appreciate you letting me come on. And yeah, I was actually out in Omaha for about a week, and I tell you, man, it was hot. The weather was hot, the baths were hot. It was kind of just all things in one there. But it's exciting. I mean, it's that whole town. That was our first experience. We actually been in Omaha for the NCAA basketball tournament when we played Wisconsin about a year and a half ago. The same year they went and played Duke in the national championship. But that town, baseball-wise, I mean, y'all, if you're a Gamecock fan, you're a Clemson fan, you've been out there before. But that town really embraced us. It was incredible to see how much merchandise was flying off the shelves. Just these kids, these little leaguers out there. They're out there wearing Coastal gear. I mean, there's teal everywhere, and those merchandise, those vendors say it's just they can't keep it in fast enough. So it's exciting. The more I think about it, there were kind of 2 things in my mind that kind of got us to where we are. Kind of a wide time frame, wide window. But if you go back to 2014 season, that was the season we had, I think, 8 of our 9 guys riddled with injury. We only had 1 guy playing their normal position. I can't even remember which one it was at this point, but I think if you get beat up enough, you get knocked down enough, you eventually just say, you know what, this is it. I don't like this pain of losing. And I think you look at the senior class that we have, Remillard, Owings, Marks, all these guys, they were on that team. And I think that was kind of a catalyst for them, if you will. That was the thing that kind of used the motivation. And then the next year, last year, you can see signs we're picking up again, getting back to the baseball that we knew we were capable of. And then this year, in fact, the last time you and I chatted on air I was on the way to the Georgia Tech series, and that to me was that was the turning point this year. You just look at the guys, and I think that probably ruined our hosting opportunities. Mm-hmm. But in hindsight, it doesn't mean anything now.
No.
But I think all the talk about ACC and SEC, and we go through both houses of the ACC and SEC and make it to Omaha.
Yeah. Hang on, Rhett. Hang on a second. We'll let you finish up on the other side. Rhett Graham from Coastal with us here. Back in a moment. And we're back, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network here on a Monday night, very busy Monday in the sports world around here. And we thank Coastal Carolina for giving us a little extra something to be busy about, because by winning over the weekend, that extends the sports season for this academic year in South Carolina to at least tomorrow night and maybe until Wednesday. But Coastal Carolina, the last team standing from our state in playing games from this academic year, and a chance to bring home the national championship in college baseball. Back visiting for Graham from the Coastal Carolina Chanticleer Athletic Fund. Have you had a bunch of phone calls, people wanting to donate with all this publicity you guys have been getting?
Man, I tell you what, you know what's been, this has really, really been great. It's been, so many people rallied back around just the way life happens. Sometimes you just get disconnected from your roots sometimes. And this has been great to bring a lot of people back, people that we haven't seen or talked to in years. They might be coming in from California. They might be coming in from Oklahoma, wherever it may be. They're coming in and just pulling for the boys. This city is on fire right now. I mean, just yesterday at church, I mean, just seeing the teal everywhere. I mean, it's such a great thing. It's, there was a time, I think, when years ago, where we might look across the field and see, on the jersey, we might see a Clemson or a North Carolina or a South Carolina or a Florida. And you know what, maybe feel like, I don't know if we belong here. But I think that time is long gone now. I don't think that time's ever going to come back. I think we've reached a point now where people are going to look across the field, see that black bold lettering on the teal jersey, and know, this is a whole different ball game here. So I think, with what the athletics program is doing, we got nationally ranked soccer, nationally ranked football with the transition coming up. Basketball's making waves, just to name a few. So it's been great. I'll tell you a funny story though. So you being in the media, you'll appreciate this. So we were out there playing a golf outing with Cole Ravitch, Eduardo Perez, and actually the University of Arizona AD was out there. Greg Burns, super guy, great guy.
Right.
And we were having some fun ribbing back and forth. But he, so we play, and Eduardo Perez, now I got to be honest with you, Tony, you got to give that guy some lessons. He is struggling on the golf course.
Well, that would be you. You would be giving the lessons. I would be taking as well.
He may be able to hit a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. I don't know about the golf ball.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know about that. But anyway, these guys, they love Coastal. They love the way we play. They love how loose we are. Carl Ravitch said, he said, those guys, they play 9 innings. He said 20 minutes later, they want to play another game. He said, I've never seen anything like it. And just, they're loose. They're almost like little leaguers, like 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
They don't care how hot it is. They just want to go play.
Yeah.
And I think, and our Coastal style of baseball, sure, we lead the country in home runs, and we've only hit one out with Chadwick's, the other night, but our style of baseball is we will just squeeze you to death. We'll bunt. We'll do whatever it takes. Top 10 in the nation in sack bunts, whatever it takes to get that guy over and get him on second and get him in scoring position, base running, whatever it may be. So I think the guys are just having fun. It's like David Parrott, the breakout series that he's had, our catcher. He said, we're just not ready to say goodbye to each other yet, not let alone Omaha. So I think there's just a camaraderie and kind of a band of brotherhood there that's going on, and I think that plays a big part in it too.
I would agree. You can see it. You can see it come together with any successful team. We saw it with South Carolina baseball when they won the national championships.
Mm-hmm.
Saw it with Clemson football this past season. You see it with other successful teams. You've got your football teams in recent years winning the Big South and going to the postseason. I mean, the players, the coaches, they become something greater than themselves. They just go through this morphing where you forget about your individual stats, you forget about anything about me, and it all becomes about the team. And I've seen this with Coastal Carolina and the other teams out there too. But I mean, Coastal really, Gary said in the press conference yesterday, something happens to one guy goes in a slump, somebody else is there to step up and pick it up. That's how you get to where you are. And you mentioned the catcher. I mean, he came in batting 130 in the World Series, and he's just, the guy he's been on fire at the plate. So it's been a complete team performance. Let me ask you this, we'll let you go, and I don't want to By no means am I trying to put the cart before the horse. No jinxing here, nothing like that. But, I mean, should things go well and you win this thing, are you guys prepared or making preparations back there for whatever type of celebration you have in mind if it comes to that?
Yeah, that's definitely something we thought about. It's and more details will be released here as soon as we get an idea of when the team will be in and everything like that. Hopefully they'll be just we'll wrap this thing up in 2 games and get on with it. But no, there's something in the works, and we'll when all the details come out, it'll be made public, and we hope a bunch of people will be there. So it'll be good. And just last point, and then I'll run. But they think about what's going on here. So we're a younger school, but we had 2 guys in the Super Bowl this year: Josh Norman, Mike Colbert. Just had the winner of the U.S. Open, Dustin Johnson. We got Amber Campbell, who might be her 3rd Olympics in the hammer throw. I mean, think about that. Some people will strive their whole lives and maybe get 1 chance. She could have 3. She's already had 2. So there's just a lot of great things going on. I think there's an article by AP that came out just told me, and it was, quote, "It's a great time to be a Chanticleer." It really is. It really is. I think this is just kind of the springboard that we've known. Like in sports, you tend to get where you think you belong, and we got to where we think we belong, and that's on the national stage in Omaha. And I think that's going to be the case with more of the sports as well. So strap in, hang on, man. It's going to be a fun ride. We hope everybody's wearing teal.
Okay, my man. Thank you very much. Good talking to you.
You got it.
All right. Take care. Red Graham from Coastal Carolina. He's a former golfer at Coastal Carolina. Has a heck of a golf game.
The key point is when you get some veteran players who've been there, and he talked about failure, and I think probably that's what tends to put people together. Not so much, in my opinion, you have energy to you fail. It's the fact that you fail and you figured out, oh, so that's what failure is, and the sun just came, so you don't worry about that anymore. And it's also the key, which I think a lot of young players being recruited don't realize, and that's why you see teams falter, is the fact that veteran players know how hard it is to get there, and while they're having fun, they're savoring every moment. Whereas you see a young team, they come in behind them, and they say, oh, yeah, the uniforms do it. No, it doesn't. It takes the work behind the scenes, and this is a veteran ball club that's put it together. And remember, their hottest hitter was injured, and the super regionals is not even there, but they haven't missed it.
Yes, they've, like I said, somebody has stepped in, picked it up. They scooted through the regional, then they got Chadwick back, who was also hurt, and got him ready to go to start at second base here in the World Series. And of course, he delivered the home run the other day. It's just been one guy after another, and of course, they're pitching. What can you say when you get one guy deliver 2 complete game victories for you? That's hard to match in college baseball, and especially of that setting of the World Series in the heat and humidity of Omaha, with everybody scrutinizing your pitch count. Now, you heard the guys up in the booth from ESPN the other night. When Morrison was pitching, and when he was getting up around 60, 70 pitches, they're like, "This is your closer. You're going to let your closer go this far." But I trust. In this particular case, I trust Gary Gilmore. I trust Ray Tanner. I trust Jack Leggett when he was coaching. I trust Monty Lee, the other coaches. They know their players. They're not going to risk their players to undue injury for the sake of winning a ball game. But they know the players. They know what the players can handle. And all the scrutiny that you get from the talking heads about pitch count and all that, it's fine to discuss, and it's fine to bring it up in the broadcast to give you something to criticize. But these coaches know what they're doing.
But even the coaches will tell you, hey, we're not going to overtax this guy. We know he has a future, so we're not going to do that. You're hearing a lot that from coaches during the postseason.
The way Beckwith pitches with his submarine and coming down under, he could have gone out and pitched another game the next day, I think, because the wear and tear on his arm is not that great. Back in a moment. Well, first pitch out in Omaha comes up about 7:05 Eastern time, 6:05 out there. Let's go out to Omaha and get you the latest conditions leading in to the first game of the championship series. Conan Gasquet, sports director from TV 13 in Myrtle Beach and Florence and all areas of the PD. And, of course, former Sports Talk intern, extraordinary member of the Sports Talk Intern Hall of Fame, joining us from Omaha. Well, we were kind of hopeful you'd still be out there tonight when we talked to you on Friday, and by golly, you are.
I tell you, it's been an exciting run for Coastal Carolina. It's really been fun to watch, and I think it's because of their offense. Their offense really kind of came to life against TCU the other night. I think a lot of us, following them closely, felt like going into that game that it was a big time advantage for TCU because they were throwing their ace, and Coastal Carolina was not able to do that. But their offense was just very impressive. I think TCU's ace left in the third inning, and they kind of had to piece it together after that. They finally got their first home run. So they're feeling very good about the way they're swinging the bat right now. They've been a lot of fun.
Talk about the Coastal starting pitcher tonight. What can you tell us about him? What should fans be looking for? What does he bring to the mound, and how deep can he go into this ball game, you think?
Well, he's a guy, I think he started about 9 or 10 games this year, mostly a midweek starter. And as you know, Coastal Carolina has, played some significant midweek games. So it's not like, he's a guy that has not faced any big-time teams or anything like that. He's got a significant amount of playing time. He's obviously a drop-off from Alex Cunningham and Andrew Beckwith. He doesn't have quite the kind of ability they do, and he's also a sophomore, so he's a younger guy. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how he handles this atmosphere. He did pitch briefly in a College World Series game earlier in the series. I don't remember which game it was, but it was very brief. Arizona's starter, meanwhile, has a lot more experience coming into this game through 7 innings against Santa Barbara. So, Hopek, he's a young guy, he's kind of a midweek starter, but I think at this point, Coastal Carolina, of course, they want him to go as deep as they can, but I think Gary Gilmore is going to do whatever he has to do, putting in whoever he needs to kind of make things work out pitching-wise.
Yeah, Hopek pitched against South Carolina when they faced them in the midweek this season, and Gamecocks won that game 4-2. He was a starter. He went 3 1/3 against the Gamecocks, 3 earned runs, 4 hits. So, like you said, he's faced some good competition during the midweek with the schedule that they've put together. Behind them in the bullpen, I imagine since Morrison, even though he warmed up on Saturday night, didn't pitch in the game, got to believe he'll be available. What about confirm that for me? And what about Holmes? Is Holmes available tonight?
I think I'm pretty sure that Mike Morrison is going to be available. I think he's had enough rest that he should be fine. Other guys, Bobby Holmes, it's kind of hard to say. I haven't heard Gary Gilmore say anything for sure either way, but I would think that he would be able to maybe throw an inning or two if they need him to. I don't see him going a long time since he's already gone, I think, 4 or 5 innings total spread out over 2 games. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Bobby Holmes come in here, but I think Mike Morrison is certainly going to be a good option, and they're going to be thrilled to have him in there should they need him, as well as he played the last time out here in Omaha.
Yeah. The press conference yesterday with the 2 teams together, both coaches, 3 players from each side, showing a lot of respect each way for what the other side has accomplished. What did you sense from the Coastal people? Did they as loose and as carefree as they have been this entire trip?
They really did. Their personality really does not ever seem to change, no matter what the circumstances were. Talking to them in the press conference, I was asking them about how a lot of the fans in here in Omaha, a lot of the local fans have really kind of jumped on the Coastal bandwagon, so to speak. They've got to like that underdog story and things like that. And I was asking them about that, and they certainly think it's a cool thing, but they're not letting it get to them by any stretch. But they're just enjoying themselves, and I think that's an interesting thing about this matchup. I was actually about to do another one of these sports talk hits earlier in the week. I think it was the first one I did, and I walked in the press conference room where it's kind of quiet, and I saw the Arizona team setting up a Spider-Man action figure. And I remember thinking to myself, they were shooting some kind of video or something like that. And I remember thinking to myself, Coastal Carolina is a team that really knows how to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
They're really a relaxed bunch. I get the sense that Arizona is kind of the same way. So I was thinking to myself at the time, wouldn't it be something if these two teams end up being the two that are in the finals, because it's one fun bunch going up against another fun bunch. And so I think it's going to be, very exciting to watch, because these two teams are just as loose as it gets.
All right, got 10 seconds. What's the wind doing out there tonight?
The wind, last I checked, was coming in from center field, going slightly towards right field. So may not be great for Coastal's offense.
Okay, my man. Enjoy the night. We'll catch you tomorrow, because there is a tomorrow no matter what happens tonight. Conan
Yes, sir.
Gasquet
Thank
from
you very much.
Omaha. Yep, be right back. All right, thanks again to Conan Gasquet for joining us from out in Omaha, setting the stage for tonight's first game of the championship series between Coastal and Arizona. To recruiting we go, and we are still waiting on word from offensive lineman DJ Moore of Charlotte. Told us this afternoon he's made his decision on a commitment. As of then, he'd not yet notified the school, but he planned to do so this afternoon, he said the decision came down to USC, Tennessee, and NC State. He'd been holding out for an Alabama offer, but he had not heard back from Nick Saban. He said he might make the commitment public later on today, but needed to talk with his parents first. He'll put the decision on Twitter. So we're waiting to see what happens there with him. USC's been strong with him since way back in February when he came in for a junior day. He almost committed to the Gamecocks then, but his recruiting took off. NC State became heavily involved, pulled even with the Gamecocks. Tennessee was heavily involved as well. Moore came back to USC for the cookout in April. He's been in regular contact with the line coach Sean Elliott, and his teammate Eric Douglas is already committed to the Gamecocks, another offensive lineman. Defensive back Troy Young of Mobile picked up an offer from USC earlier this month, and he's very interested in what the Gamecocks have to offer. Been in touch with secondary coach Travaris Robinson. He's got South Carolina, he said, at the top of his list. And he said Robinson likes how he comes to the ball, how he moves, how he backpedals. They saw all this on his film. He's high on the Gamecocks, but not calling anyone a leader right now. Just coming off a trip to the state of California. Also plans to get to USC, Alabama, Auburn, NC State, UCF, and Arizona. He'd like to make his decision before the season. Defensive back Gentry Bonds of Murfreesboro, Tennessee, released the top 5 over the weekend. Clemson, Nebraska, Georgia Tech, Missouri, Kentucky. He was at a Clemson camp earlier in the month, really liked Dabo Swinney, things that he saw at Clemson. They like him as a 79 tackles, 4 picks, 13 deflections last season. He'll take more visits in July, but not sure where. One could be a return trip to Clemson for the cookout. And he will be enrolling early, but he does not have a timetable on a decision. And he's not been to Clemson for a game, but he plans to get there this season. Defensive end DeAndre Johnson of Miami revealed his favorites, USC, which at one time was among his favorites, no longer. No surprise, since Johnson told us last week he'd not heard from the Gamecocks in several weeks. His favorites now are Tennessee, Cal, West Virginia, Maryland, Mississippi State, and Auburn. So with the defensive ends they have committed and others that they're involved with, USC must feel like it's in better shape with some other guys. Athlete Devon Hunter of Chesapeake, Virginia, a top 11 of Clemson, Alabama, Auburn, Florida, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, Tennessee, Notre Dame, Michigan, Penn State, Maryland. And defensive back Marquise Bell of Bridgeton, New Jersey, has Clemson in his favorites list with Michigan, Rutgers, Florida, Maryland, Temple, Ohio State, North Carolina, Ole Miss, Virginia Tech, West Virginia, Tennessee, and Georgia, the Lucky 13. Top of the hour. We'll be back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, here on a Monday night from downtown Columbia. Main Street, Sports Talk, coming to you from Columbia. We are the Sports Talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. From the coasts, where coastal Carolina resides, to the mountains, where you can find the Clemson Tigers. You can also find the Furman Paladins, kind of tucked up there in the mountains.
Foothills.
North Greenville. They're up there in the mountains, right there touching the mountains. Wofford, Spartanburg, not so much, but kind of up that way. Anyway, we're from there to here and all places in between here in South Carolina and beyond the borders. You know, we cross the borders with our signal too, with some of our great affiliates around the state. We appreciate all of you who are joining us every night. Make sure you take us with you wherever you go, on your smartphone, on your laptop, on your iPad. Catch the video feed on the website, sportstalksc.com, also the audio feed. You can get us on our affiliates on iHeartRadio as well as the TuneIn app. So should you lose us over the airwaves for whatever reason, there's always a way to find us. If you missed a show, you can go back and see the video recording of the show. It's archived every night on the website, or go to our YouTube channel, and you can pull up any show that you have missed over many months. One more note I wanted to mention in talking about players coming and going. We talked about Connor Mitch transferring to James Madison, and Jalen Christian transferring to William and Mary. I want to point out to those of you who are married to the ratings, what's the right word I want to use for that? The rating scandal.
No, it's not a scandal.
Well, it's in my mind.
Rating.
It's a I can't come up with the right word at the right time. It's to me, it's scandalous because it's misleading.
Oh, it's flawed system. How about flawed?
Well, it's flawed. It's definitely flawed.
Flawed.
But anyway, the point I'm making is both of these guys, by rivals, were 4 stars. 4 stars. Whatever that means in their system, I presume it means that they are supposed to be great players who are going to go in and start and win in your program, in your league. And what happens, of course, is everybody gets pumped up about it, and your class gets ranked high about it, and all this kind of stuff. And then when it doesn't pan out, all of a sudden it's like, well, whose fault is it here? And it's, my point is, it's not the player's fault. And it's not the coach's fault, really. Because, you know, the players, by and large, some players do seek high ratings, but most players don't. It's just given to them based on who knows what observations these people have, and then they're stuck with it the rest of their career. So now, are you a failure because you were a 4-star, but you didn't make it at your SEC school and you're dropping down to a CAA program? Or maybe that's where you should have been to begin with. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Arizona threatening at the top of the first, leadoff double. Runner is on third with 1 out. So Arizona trying to put the pressure on early here against Coastal Carolina. And I would think that the edge, the way things are in Omaha right now, if you're watching on television and listening to us or just listening to us, I would think the edge would be with the pitchers here early on because they're in the sunshine and the batters are in the shadows. And so the hitter is seeing that ball in bright sunshine, and then all of a sudden it eclipses the shadows and it changes. That's got to affect your ability to watch the ball all the way through, I would think, though it did not affect the ability of the leadoff hitter who got a double down the to the left field. I think the ball bounced in the stands, didn't it?
I think
did. It bounce into the stands?
Yeah, I thought the shortstop had a play at third. It was a grounder to third. Normally, when that guy leaves second and the ball hits in front of him, you got to play at third. And I didn't think he took off before contact. So I thought they played it too safe there, Cohen. I thought they could have gotten the leading lady.
Just want to go back to what I was saying here before we hit the break, because it's the dead horse I continue to kick. And I will. I'll continue this.
It's starting to ferment now. I see the flies
the rest
all
of time.
around
But I just think that, the rankings of athletes, just like ranking of high schools across the country, but going back to the ranking of the athletes in particular, it's just, to me, it's a scam. To me, it is simply a scam. And so how do you explain, somebody explained to me how 2 4-star recruits who came to South Carolina never made it. Now, Christian didn't really give it a chance. For whatever reason, he left on March 31st. He had a chance with USC's receiving corps, I would think. He had a chance to earn some snaps, maybe even be a starter in some form or fashion, maybe in the return game or something. He had really good speed and all that. Mitch had been around for a while. He'd had opportunity. Of course, he had to wait, but he'd had opportunity to grow and develop it, to develop, even under, Steve Spurrier and the tutelage of Steve Spurrier and G.A. Mangus. So how did 2 4-stars not make it at South Carolina?
I think that always happens. Just Simpson was a 2-star, and he became, all SEC second team, and then played in.
So why should we
NFL.
believe a system that is hit and miss?
You don't.
Sometimes right, sometimes wrong. How do you hang your hat on something like that? What kind of belief system do you have in a system like that?
I have little, but I will say this. Anybody can look at a Cloudy or Clemson's quarterback and say 5-star. I mean, anybody can do that. But then again, you still have to prove it on the field. And some guys, let's face it, Corn, they look, and I'm almost of the opinion that guys with these 2 stars or 3 stars, they may try harder, just like the guy you interviewed years ago. They think I can't play because I came from this little school out in the country. Let me show them.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes, it's psychologically, that helps players who you downgrade and players who think they're all there, see that they got 5 stars and think they can just roll the football out there and they can play well. So psychologically, it can hurt a player depending on his psyche. Now, just talking about Connor Mitch, it was almost conceivably to me, and I have never seen any of his high school stuff, but he seemed to be the type of player that his receivers were wide open in high school because he refused even, and you get a walk-on like Perry Orth would throw it in a window, a tight window, Connor Mitch wouldn't throw it. If my man is not 3 or 4 steps open, I'm not throwing it. And psychologically, I think probably that hurt him.
In all honesty, it would be hard to look at Connor Mitch's high school football resume and not think he'd be a success in college.
Right.
I like to go by who's offered you. Who do you have committable offers from? And he had very good ones at high level programs. So,
including Alabama.
Are the coaches all wrong in their evaluation? I think, from what I understand, to some degree here, the responsibility is on his shoulders too. I'm not so sure how hard he worked and how dedicated he was to being an SEC quarterback. And I have reason to say that, based on people I've talked to and things that I've been told. This is going back leading in here before, he was named the starter. I was already hearing some things about off-season preparation. Let's just say he wasn't Connor Shaw. The only thing he and Connor Shaw had in common from that standpoint was the first name. He did not, was not dedicated, was not eaten up with it like Connor Shaw was. And you could tell with Connor Shaw how well prepared he was at any point in time on the football field to handle the situation. Not the case here, unfortunately, for him and for South Carolina. It's hard to believe the guy won the starting job and got him to a win over North Carolina somehow, some way. Then he gets hurt against Kentucky and never played again. Never played another snap the rest of the season after getting hurt. Now, he was seriously hurt. Remember, he had to go through the blood transfusion thing because of that very bad hip problem that he had. He was in the hospital. Remember that? In fact, I think we were the ones that broke the story. I think we had the story that he had the bad infection, had to go through the transfusion and all that kind of stuff. And obviously that set him back, but he never got the chance again to take a snap at USC. So you hope that he goes to James Madison. I just don't know how this is going to work out with Mike Houston as the coach, unless Mike Houston's changing his offense.
Might be.
I can't. He runs a triple option. His teams have been the best rushing teams in Division II and in FCS. Ryan at the Citadel.
He may still run the option, but he may use a 2-quarterback system. Who knows?
I don't know. But anyway, that's where he's going. Now, one other thing I want to mention in relation to talking about player movement and all that, and that is we can tell you that Tyshawn Williams, running back from North Carolina, who's transferring. He's out of Crestwood High School. Remember him? 2014, he's one of the best backs in the state. And he's not made a decision, hasn't got it all figured out yet on what he's going to do. He's looking at his options and trying to sort it all out. But I can tell you South Carolina is one of the options that he is investigating at this particular point in time, and hopes to get some things worked out in a couple of days, pretty soon. And there's some things that can happen work in his favor that could allow him to get to South Carolina. So, but nothing's been resolved yet. Nothing's been figured out there yet. We'll stay on top of that and let you know when it all does get resolved. But if he were to end up with the Gamecocks, that would be a nice addition to their running back situation, no doubt about it.
I get the feeling that anybody that plays running back in South Carolina, you better be able to catch the football out of the backfield.
Well, I think that's what Roper likes to do, right? He likes to throw it. He likes to throw it to his running backs. And let's see, what else I want to mention to you here today. Oh, yeah. Look who's in the news again. Steve Spurrier. Talking with our boy Josh Kendall at the State. And Spurrier said that he expects to meet with the SEC network officials in the next month. He says they've tentatively discussed getting together to talk. He's not sure what he's going to do yet. He said, I hope to do something constructive and productive. He says, I have seen people who don't do anything, and that doesn't work. Hopefully, I will get involved in something here in about a month or so. Well, now, hey, Coach, I know you listen to the show. Long-time listener, first-time caller. I know that. We will more than welcome you to be a co-host of Sports Talk. In fact, we got a chair right here, formerly warmed by Kevin McCrary, who only warms it every so often now. You can come sit right in the K-Mac chair and share your football knowledge. You can tell us why Connor Mitch did not turn out to be an SEC quarterback.
You talk about working. I can't believe that Johnny Manziel worked out hard. I've worked in college football.
Johnny Manziel? You use him as an example of.
I'm using an example of a guy who may not have worked hard, but when the lights came on in college,
only lights he sees now are the lights on the top of a cop car.
I'm talking about in college. Ask Alabama.
All right, back to, oh, by the way, Coastal gets out of a big, big problem in the top of the first. Only one run allowed, 2 left for Arizona. Kopech threw about 30 pitches in the inning, but he only gives up the 1 run. So that's good. That could have been a disastrous start to the game for Coastal, but only 1 run allowed. Back to the Spurrier story with Josh Kendall, talking about Spurrier going to the SEC network, and he talked with him about Florida naming the field at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium after him. He said that was unexpected, quite an honor. Also going to be in the National High School Hall of Fame, be inducted in that. Going to give a speech in Reno, Nevada at that induction ceremony. Spurrier said, I think I'm off season. So there you go, Steve Spurrier talking to Josh Kendall. Meantime, Will Muschamp has penned an article for Sports Illustrated, a first-person essay, and he made the case how his resolve will help him do better this time around. An excerpt from it, Muschamp wrote, I know that I was by no means a sexy hire. I told my new athletic director, Ray Tanner, let's not win the press conference, let's win football games. We did a lot of good things at Florida, had good kids in the locker room. We played strong defense and special teams. We simply had an issue on offense, and that comes back to me. Talking about having Kurt Roper as his offensive coordinator, he said, quote, he's a heck of an offensive coach, and to see the tempo of his scheme was an important experience. To sit behind the head coach's desk for 4 years and then be back on the other side, that was impactful in a lot of ways. And he also writes about how in high school he suffered a leg fracture that threatened to end his football career. And he said while playing baseball, he fractured his leg so badly, the bone was jutting out of his skin.
Compound fracture.
He had a 17-inch rod screwed into his leg to help it heal. Of course, now he overcame that to play at Georgia. And he says all of this provides him with his daily motivation. Quote, those injuries taught me to control the things you can. You can control your mindset and, as a coach, mindset of your team. That's why on the wall in my office, I've got the 17-inch rod that once helped heal my leg. It's a reminder that I've been knocked down before, but know this, I will get back up.
Spare the rod and spoil the child. No, it's interesting. I'm not so certain, Phil, to a lot of Gamecock fans because of the different demeanors in the coaches that the hire did not win the press conference, especially when he got to the microphone.
He did great.
And I thought that was tremendous. The interesting thing is if we didn't have this Twitter world and we need everything right then and there, South Carolina fans may down the road be thankful that Florida pulled the trigger too quickly, because I think Muschamp's defense won that Eastern Division last year.
I think he's going to do fine. Back in a moment.
Information. Information.
Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. I haven't even put out the phone number tonight. If anybody wants to chime in on anything we've been talking about, from Will Muschamp to Steve Spurrier to Connor Mitch to Star Rankings to Coastal Baseball, we've covered all that and more. 800-956-7266. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com and on Twitter at sportstalksc. The website is sportstalksc.com. And on Facebook, it is Sports Talk Radio Network. Our poll question, which was updated after the two teams for the championship series were set, Coastal Carolina and Arizona. And the question is, who wins the CWS Championship Series? And by an overwhelming margin of 80% to 20%, with a margin of error of 15%. I just threw that in there since this is political time.
Well, that's a bad margin there.
Coastal is your pick with 80% of the vote so far to Arizona's 20%. So,
well, see, Gamecock fans ought to be rooting for Coastal because you're looking at the school that cut you out of a possible three-peat.
Yes, and dominated them in those two games out there in Omaha that year. That was a good Arizona team. As I mentioned, Ref Snyder's playing for the Yankees. I'm not sure who else they have from that team up in the bigs, but that was a very good Arizona team. And, South Carolina had been living large, and the idea of a three-peat in the College World Series, I mean, that's unheard of this day and age. I mean, there was a time when you had teams go out there and make that kind of run. I think Southern Cal had a run of, 5 years in a row? They won the College World Series.
They might have done that twice.
Yeah, I mean, they had, this is back before anybody was really paying attention.
And, of course, Arizona State had a good run.
They did.
Reggie Jackson played out there. Who else?
Bob Horner.
Bob Horner was there.
Mm-hmm.
Bonds was there.
I've told this story before, and I know I'm not dreaming. I've got to go back.
Rick Monday.
I know I'm not dreaming, but I was out covering the World Series. And I guess it was back in the 80s. And I believe it was South Carolina. Maybe it was Clemson I was out there with because I've been out there with both. Anyways, whoever it was played Mississippi State that particular day. And this was at old Rosenblatt Stadium. And back then, this was when everything was primitive from a media standpoint. I mean, the press box wasn't anything special. And the post-game interviews were up on the roof of Rosenblatt. You had to climb a ladder to go up on the roof, and then they had a place set up to do interviews. So I'm up there waiting for the post-game interviews. Mississippi State's coming up, and they brought three players, Will Clark, Rafael Palmeiro, and Bobby Thigpen. Those were the three people interviewed that day from Mississippi State. And the point is, I mean, those are three, major league stars who went on to become major league stars. So that was kind of neat, that particular World Series. It's a great event, and if you haven't had a chance to go with your team when your team goes, and I think South Carolina will go back next year. I really do.
Well, you do?
I really do. I think South Carolina will go back to the World Series next year. I think it's a process that Chad Holbrook started after they missed the tournament 2 seasons back. He rolled up the sleeves. His staff did as well. They went out and got some quality players to fill in some holes. And they had a great year this year, came up just short. I think they learned from that. I think there should be a hunger with those returning players that will drive them in the offseason to get just that one run better, whatever it takes to get just that little bit better. The pitching they have coming back, even though they lose Webb, and that's a big loss. But, I mean, you've got your bullpen returning, your two your two stalwarts in your bullpen, Johnson and Reagan, returning, assuming they stay in the bullpen. Who knows? But you're getting a Crow back. Your other two weekend starters are back. I mean, I think they're going to be loaded. Now, where they do have to take it up a notch is hitting. And, especially hitting with runners in scoring position. They would go through times this season where they just couldn't hit. And so they're going to have to improve in that area. And what's the secret to that? I don't know. Sign better hitters. Or I don't know.
No, I think there are times when everybody's going to go through that. It's just the fact that you just have to make them as minimal as possible. I got to believe that. Looking at Clemson as well, if you got a guy like Beer, is going to be there 2 more years, and you recruit around him. And Monty Lee, let's face it, he had smoke and mirrors that he'd bring out of his pitching staff. I mean, he had one starter and a great guy who was tremendous at starting or relieving. And then he did it with mirrors, but that team hit a hot streak right when you need to, right there at the end of the season. So Monty Lee's team, I think, can be dangerous for the long haul.
Well, I don't disagree. I think Clemson will be right there again in the mix next year. Beer apparently is going to move to first base. They have got to shore up their defense. Somehow they got around that this year. 99 errors on the season, and he still managed to get to the championship round of their own regional. They're pitching next year. Now, Krall comes back. That's a big bonus for them. I think Charlie Barnes went a long way this past season to prove himself. He'll be back. They lost the one man to the arm injury. Name escapes me. He was a starter before he went down with the arm injury. Help me out.
It doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah, but anyway,
I will say this.
I think, and with one thing about Clemson now, they're going to hit. And Beer in the heart of that lineup, they're going to hit, but they've got to get better defensively. And I think their pitching overall has got to improve from top to bottom.
Well, yeah, especially when you get to times like this when it tests the depth of your pitching staff, that's going to be a key. I think also, even though they had a bunch of Houdiniacs this year, the bad hand falling behind has to go too. I mean, get the lead and then work yourself. Give the pitcher a little bit of breathing room there, because their pitchers had to really hold the fort until Clemson's bats woke up a lot of times.
Well, I don't know if they'll be as fortunate. How many teams go as far as they did this year with really only one true starter? Because it was always with Monty, it was like we're going to start Schmidt, and then actually it wasn't Schmidt. It was of course he was a starter part of the year, but who am I forgetting? Go back and check the notes here. But anyway, they had the one starter set, and then everything else was sort of we'll see what happens in this game and who we have to use, and go from there. You can't really get through a season. Charlie Barnes. They'd start Charlie Barnes. They would start, then Schmidt would start some, but Krall started off as your closer, and was used in some starting situations as they didn't have to use him out of the bullpen. The point is they've got to become more specific and predictable in their pitching. I mean, you got to kind of know who your 3 starters are going to be. You got to kind of know who that middle relief guy is going to be. You got to kind of have that guy who's going to start for you at the midweek games. And then you got to know who's going to be coming out at the back end of your bullpen to close things out. They didn't really have that. It was a scramble for them with the pitching staff.
I've always said that one man's trash is another man's treasure. And maybe because they didn't have set roles, maybe the other team couldn't figure out where they were going themselves, so that threw them off.
Jake Higginbotham was the guy I was thinking of who had the arm injury. Get him back. He was 3-0 before he got hurt. Get him. They like him. He'll be back. So they'll have some arms to work with, and they'll figure it out. Still 1-0 Arizona, bottom of the second over Coastal. Back in a moment. Okay, back we are. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. We hope that Coastal scores big tonight in Omaha. You can score big with Founders Federal Credit Union. Founders has convenient office locations on the campus of USC, a new location coming soon to Clemson, plus ATMs at Clemson, Converse, Limestone, PC, USC Lancaster, Winthrop, and York Tech. Visit foundersfcu.com for a full listing to find an ATM or office near you. Not a member? Visit Relax. Join founders.com. See if you qualify for membership. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA. 2 down, bottom of the second. Arizona still leading Coastal 1-0, giving up that run in the top of the first inning. Major League Baseball this afternoon. The Dodgers beat the Pirates 5-4 in Pittsburgh. Going on right now, you've got the Indians beating the Braves 1-0. Now it's really, in this politically correct world, I have some hesitation in announcing that game that way. Indians and Braves.
You can say Cleveland won, Atlanta nothing.
Well, you could. But I think I like to go by the nicknames. So am I being insensitive by referring to one as the Indians and the others as the Braves?
No.
And did you see, by the way, this came out several weeks ago. I saw it somewhere, and don't ask me for the exact details, but there was some national poll or whatever of Native Americans who fully support the name Redskins for the Washington Redskins. Kind of flies in the face of people who said, Native Americans are all up in arms about it and upset about it. Anyway, Indians 1, Braves nothing in the third.
Now you're bordering on some shakiness. By the way, if you look on the website of the New York Giants, everyone on that schedule, their nickname is there.
Except
when they get there, you have something like the Jets, Rams, Washington.
They won't use it, huh?
No, they have all the nicknames of other teams play, but Washington.
All right, how about there. Cubs? All right, Cubs. That's fine. Cubs too, but the Reds. I mean, here we are praising communists.
No, Red Stockings was the original name.
2-2 in the second. The Rays, okay, here's something. Rays, that causes cancer. You shouldn't really be,
No, that was short for stingray.
I know, but Rays now gives you
devil rays.
They changed it for sun rays. Rays causes cancer. They're up on the Red Sox 5-0 in the second. All right, Rangers. See, Rangers, they are out there to shoot people probably with their weapons.
Not really. The Lone Ranger was a Texas Ranger before he went rogue.
They lead the Yankees. Nothing wrong with Yankees. Yankees absolutely a perfect name.
Okay.
1-0. That's in the second. And the Mets 2-0 over the Nationals.
The Metropolitans.
2-0 over the Nationals in the second inning. All right, up to date on baseball. Let's see. What else do I want to mention?
And I saw a rare sighting. Very rare sighting in baseball.
What's that?
Let's see Clayton Kershaw get lit up.
Oh yeah.
You don't get 4 runs off of Clayton Kershaw. That shocked me.
According to Gamecock Central, a USC DB is no longer on football scholarship. He's going on medical hardship scholarship. Allie Groves, redshirt junior defensive back. That's according to Gamecock Central. Has not played in a game at South Carolina. Entire career plagued by injury. Coming out of high school, had a fracture in his neck.
There we go.
That will set you back. Good student, though. 2-time SEC academic honor roll. On track to graduate in December. So that's another scholarship, however, becoming available.
Sometimes that's another lesson learned about athletes. You never know when that athletic ability will be taken from you, just like that.
Charleston Southern going to have 6 home football games this year. 4 of them will kick off before noon. 4 games will kick off at 11:45.
Now, you said there was some reasoning for that. Was it not?
I think Coach told us that a while back what it was. I don't remember what it was. The home portion, let's see. Open its season, early kickoff against Kentucky State, September 3rd. Albany State on October 8th will be 11:45. Gardner-Webb, November 5th will be 11:45. And Kennesaw State, November 19th, will be at 11:45. So you get your early start to football there over at Charleston Southern. We'll be back in a moment. Just to finish up on the Gamecock roster with the deletion of Groves, by my count, I always say this is my count, and keeping up with the comings and goings of the roster. And the one caution I have to throw out there is that when you're talking about walk-on guys who got scholarships, are they still on scholarship this year? You know, don't know for sure. You assume that they are, like Darius Polk. I think he's still on scholarship. I'm just looking at the numbers for South Carolina. So with the departure of Groves from the regular scholarship going on the hardship, that comes off their 85. So they've got 59 returning, and then they've got 25 coming in the class. So that's 84. So they're one under the number at this point from what I can tell. Oh, wait a second. Hang on. Timeout. Well, I guess Jake Bentley. I did not account for Jake Bentley. So he would be coming in with the freshman class. So that'd be 26. They'll be on 85.
Okay.
There you go. They'll
So
be
they gotta
on
run somebody
85.
off.
They had to make a move. And I think it had to be done. I'm not 100% sure, but I think those scholarship rosters have to be set by like July 1st. I think.
New fiscal year.
Probably. I don't know, but I think so. That's the deal right there. That'd be 26 in the class. No, wait a second. No, I've got Jake. I'm counting Jake. Jake's part of the 25. I've got him in there. So they're back to 84.
So
that's why I hate to mess with the numbers.
Cooper Wood.
Cooper Wood is one who's going to be late, maybe in August. All the other guys are expected to be in on time this summer. All right. So anyway, it's just to give you an idea of where things stand. Arizona with 2nd and 3rd and 1 out. What's happened, Pro?
Well, you just had a fly ball to short left field, and the runner could not advance, so still runs on 2nd and 3rd. Runs on 2nd and 3rd with nobody out.
Explain something to me. And baseball now, these guys, I'm watching them, and every time there's a big play, they're getting up on second base and they're doing their gestures and all this stuff back in their dugout, da-da-da-da-da. But you do that in football. You make any kind of a gesture in football after you score or you make a big hit. If you were to turn towards your bench and start making some kind of gesture with your hands, what's going to happen?
Flag is coming
15-yard penalty. Yeah. So
now some officials will keep the flag in and give the player a warning. Don't do that again.
My point is, how long will it be before the people who take the fun out of college sports do that to baseball? Hey, you can't gesture back on the field like that. You're showing off. You're showing up the opponent when you do that.
At the major league level, there's self-policing. It's called one under the chin.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Carson Mason. She did a fabulous job tonight. Thank you, Pro. Thanks to everyone for being with us. We'll see you tomorrow night. More baseball to talk about. We'll see you then.